Good morning. Good morning. To all of you joining us here in the chapel and on YouTube. We're especially glad to have those of you who may be with us for the first time and hope to see you again soon. I'd like to remind you all to please silence your cell phones and other devices at this time. Our first principle says, we affirm the worth and dignity of every person, including people with disabilities. So many of us have or will acquire a disability over our lifetimes. Patty Walsh is a member of our community who experienced life as a person with a disability before and after the Americans with Disabilities Act was passed. Patty has a PhD in clinical psychology and worked for 20 years in developmental disability and mental health services. She will talk about her experiences, what has changed, and where we might go from here. I'm your worship leader today, Jeanne Mooney. East Rose Fellowship sits on the occupied territory of the Clackamas Chinook people, who were forcibly displaced from this land to the Grand Ronde Reservation in 1855. We acknowledge the sacrifices endured by the ancestors of this land and that our presence here today is only possible because of the injustices committed against them. We recognize the inherent sovereignty of the Chinook Nation and Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde, who carry on the traditions, history, and legacy held by their ancestors from time immemorial to this day. We seek meaningful relationships with these communities that foster repair. Let's take a moment now and greet each other here today, both in the chapel and online. Please stand and face the cameras by the clock on the back wall and wave hello to our friends online. For our online guests, if you would like to share a joy or sorrow during that portion of the service, you can do so by entering it in the YouTube chat, and those will be shared aloud with everyone. I also encourage you to identify yourself in the chat so we may better acknowledge your presence with us today. And now we have our responsive call to worship. Oh, it's in yellow and white. I have something else on my paper. Welcome to this morning, this day, and this opportunity to be together in community.
Which is a time of joy, comfort, and sometimes challenges.
This Unitarian Universalist congregation is a place where we come to learn more about being human.
We're not here because we figured out life's questions or because we think we've got it right.
We come to learn more about being in relationship together.
How to listen, how to forgive, how to be vulnerable,
Let us move into worship, willing to be authentic with each other, honest within ourselves, and open to connection in all its forms.
Oh. Stand from the... Do you want to do the child's light first?
Okay. Each morning, we must hold out the chalice of our being to receive, to carry, and to give back.
That tune Barbara just played is At This Table, which you may recall the choir sang a couple of weeks ago, the theme of which is, at this table, everybody's welcome. Our opening words. Our opening words are from Esther Hubert. It is not always easy to find love at the center. Through a heart-shaped window in a blue box, we see glowing candles and its reflection. It is not always easy to find love in the center. There is not a set of easy instructions, numbered 1 through 7 or maybe 8. It is not always easy to find love at the center. Today, in Covenant, we celebrate our living tradition, which invites us to take deep breaths of fresh air into the newness of every day, so our minds, hearts, and spirits can be continually nourished. It is not always easy to find love at the center. So for today, we gather in Covenant to celebrate the reality that love is the core of our beings, and that love will guide us as we open ourselves to the challenges to which love requires of us. May we accept this challenge with dignity and peace. And now, please stand as you're willing and able to join us in singing hymn number 170 in the gray hymnal, "We Are a Gentle, Angry People." Words will be on the screen.
We are gentle
Welcome. Today's story is called What Happened to You?, written by James Catchpole and illustrated by Karen George. It's about a boy named Joe who has a limb difference. While most people have 2 legs, he has 1. When the kids at the park meet him, they naturally have questions about this. The author of the book, James Catchpole, also has 1 leg, just like Joe. He offers some thoughtful advice. He says it's good to be curious, but we also have to be okay with not knowing all of the answers. Not everyone wants to answer personal questions, especially from strangers. Not everyone wants to answer the same questions over and over. And as the author reminds us, disabled people are just like anyone else, getting on with their busy day, not looking to be a teachable moment. Now let's hear what happened to you. Joe was playing his favorite game. It had sharks and possibly crocodiles. But crocodiles and sharks were no match for pirates like Joe. Not this time, Senior Sharkface. Sharks were easy compared to kids that Joe hadn't met yet. "You've only got 1 leg," said a kid. "Yup," said Joe, "and you've just squashed my shark." "What happened to you?" said the kid. But Joe didn't feel like telling that story, so he just said, "What do you think?" The kid didn't know how to answer that. But another kid did. "Did it fall off?" "No," said Joe. A third kid thought that was silly. "Legs don't fall off," she said. Kid number 4 agreed. He asked, "Was it a burglar?" Then kid 2 thought very hard and said, "Did it fall off in the toilet?" "No and no," said Joe. "This is a trick, isn't it? You're hiding it," said kid 5. "No," said Joe, "and stop staring at my bottom." There were more questions. "But where's your leg?" "Here," which Joe did try to answer. "But where's your other leg?" "What other leg?" Though some of them, "Was it a lion?" were a bit silly. "Was it 1,000 lions?" "Yes," said Joe, "it was 1,000 lions." "Really?" said the kids. "No!" shouted Joe. Joe was playing his game again, but this time kid 1 said, "Is that a crocodile down there?" And Joe said, "Yes, I think so." "My name is Simone," said kid 1. "My name's Joe," said Joe. "And there are sharks down here too. They especially like to eat pirates." "Pirates?" said Simone. "Pirates," said Joe. "Cool," said Simone and Udo and Casper and Maney and Abraham. And all the kids seemed happy with that. Later, Simone asked, "Do you ever get tired of people asking questions about your leg?" "What do you think?" said Joe. Simone did know how to answer that, but Joe had a question of his own. "Do you still need to know what happened?" "No," said Simone. And Joe seemed happy with that. We believe in the inherent worth and dignity of every person, not as curiosities or teachable moments, but as whole people living full, rich lives. And now we'll say goodbye to the adults and head back to RE. If the adults along the center aisle will form a bridge, we'll sing the children out.
It's now time for our quiet moments to still our minds. So I ask you to put your feet flat on the floor, sit up straight, hands in lap. You can close your eyes or look down if that's more comfortable. And listen to yourself breathe. as you listen, try make your breaths longer. Inhale for a count of 4, and then exhale slowly for a count of 4 or 5 or 6, whatever is your thing. You will feel your mind quiet. If you have thoughts, when thoughts come into your mind, just dispense with them. Don't pay attention to them. Just let them pass on through. If that's difficult, you can count your breaths. Okay, it's now time to come back into the room. Begin with a small motion of your hands or feet. Bring your breathing back to what is normal breathing for you. No more counting. And now open your eyes. Please remain seated and join us in singing hymn number 352 in the gray hymnal, Find a Stillness.
The reading today is from Quality of Care, an interview with Dr. Lisa Izzoni. Dr. Lisa Izzoni, a prominent researcher with a 40-year career studying healthcare for disabled people. She herself uses a wheelchair due to MS. Dr. Izzoni was never able to practice medicine because her medical school refused to write her a reference. In one of her studies, 82% of doctors said that people with disabilities have a worse quality of life than those without. But that's a misconception. Everybody has hard things and easy things, good things and bad things about their lives, Dr. Izzoni says. It's possible for somebody with a disability to hold two truths that might seem inconsistent, but are able to coexist. One truth is that they can't walk, but the other truth is that they have a good life. Most people with disabilities don't view their lives as tragic, Dr. Izzoni said. The idea that so many of their doctors do and that it might influence the care they provide alarmed her. Dr. Rizzoni found that patients with disabilities are less likely to receive aggressive cancer treatment and uncovered troubling disparities in screening, particularly for breast and cervical cancer. Women who cannot stand have trouble accessing standard mammogram equipment. Many women in chairs never received a Pap test because they were never offered a pelvic exam. Women with major mobility problems were 70% less likely to be asked about contraception because physicians assumed they weren't sexually active. Pregnant patients were not being routinely weighed on wheelchair-accessible scales, and a few said they were never weighed at all. Dr. Rizzoni found that women with disabilities receive worse care in all areas of postpartum care and face higher maternal mortality rates, especially women of color. She found that the reaction of strangers in public to pregnant women with disabilities includes stares and curious comments that are sometimes positive, but are more often intrusive, insensitive, or outright hostile. Dr. Rizzoni has written about the dangers of diagnostic overshadowing, a kind of tunnel vision in which clinicians ascribe any new symptom to underlying chronic conditions. A close friend of hers died from a tumor that diagnosed late because the doctor thought the symptoms were worsening MS. What happens now that we have all this information? Where does healthcare go from here?
Our first principle, first Unitarian Universalist principle, calls upon us to affirm the worth and dignity of all persons, including people with disabilities. Now, there's an estimated 70 million people in the United States with a disability, so you know they cover all genders, all ages, all racial identities, all socioeconomic statuses. A disability is a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activity. A person may have a disability from birth, or it may be acquired through aging or injury or illness. A disability can be permanent or temporary. And a disability can occur because of service to our community, including military service. And sometimes a disability can happen because of intentional harm committed by another person or by oneself. And sometimes we just don't know what caused the disability. A person with disabilities can have sensory impairments such as vision or hearing or pain sensation. A disability can be related to mobility. You might need a walker or a wheelchair. You might need help fixing a meal due to issues related to strength or coordination. A disability could be cognitive or neurological, interfering in employment or reading or handling money. Could be caused by substance abuse or medical illness, interfering in family life and work. Could be a mental health issue. A person can be physically exhausted from a medical illness like cancer or heart failure. And we all know that long COVID causes multiple disabilities. Now, many aspects of life with disability have changed substantially over my lifetime. There have been changes in technology, healthcare, law, and attitude. Much of what I will describe here is based on my own experience as a person with a disability. I am albino. That means I have poor vision. It means I am very light sensitive, and it means I am very sun sensitive. Like other albino people, I have medical issues related to sun exposure, and I've even developed an allergy to the sun. I can't read anything at a distance, I can't drive, and I read more slowly. You've all seen my, my thing here. Now, many professions have been closed to me, but not all, obviously. The object is to find what you can do. I'm a person with a disability, but I am also a person with privilege. To start with, I'm white and well-educated, and I'm straight. I can hide my disability, and I do not appear to be disabled in a way that makes other people uncomfortable. I am also my mother's daughter. In 1964, she made the decision to send me to parochial school rather than public school so that I would escape special education. Now, at that time, placements in special education was more based on your disability than on your ability to succeed in a regular classroom. And it was not college-bound. My mother had reasoned that an education would help me mitigate the consequences of disability the same way it helped her immigrant family move on from life in a Bronx tenement. And she was right. She sent me to art classes, bought me a bicycle, and encouraged me to sign up for sports, especially basketball. Basketballs are big. And the net doesn't move. When I was 16, she helped me get financial aid to attend a National Science Foundation program at the University of Wyoming. She even gave permission for me to take technical rock climbing classes while I was there. I personally think that was kind of crazy. But I have two siblings with albinism. So in our house, lighting was good, magnifiers were in plenty supply, and everyone sat too close to the television. My father was a college professor before losing his career to alcoholism and mental illness. From my father and his coworkers, I learned to talk with people with academic authority over me. I learned how to politely but assertively state a problem and then propose a solution. Also from my father, I learned how to stick up for myself when expectations were unreasonable. He once bought me a New York City tennis permit. I refused to sign, and he was very angry. But it was important to me that he learn that I had realistic limitations and that I'd be able to state what they were. I should include here that there were several sisters in both elementary and high school who consistently and quietly figured out what I needed to succeed. From them, I learned that it is a process. Now, in the past, I was sometimes told that I was an exceptional, successful person despite my disability because of, well, whatever reason. I work hard, I have ambitious parents, a good memory, fill it in. I am here to tell you that I am not exceptional. That kind of thinking is seductive and it is dangerous. It perpetrates the idea that it is still okay to deny access to success, however it is defined, to other disabled people because they do not work hard enough or possess one of these qualities. The same logic has been used against other groups, women, people of color, particularly Black people, and immigrants. I think we've all heard enough by now of the good immigrant trope, right? Now, schools began to phase in accommodations in the 1960s and 70s, but there were and still are major issues, including discrimination. Now, mine were minor. Black chalkboards and mimeographs were ongoing issues. Y'all know what a mimeograph is? Kind of blotchy indigo print. Yeah. Nobody else could read them either. Let's see, I nearly failed a gym class because I couldn't play badminton. You all know what a shuttlecock is? About that big. Imagine it going up into the gym lights. It just vanished. I was once told I could not use my magnifier on a test. And I had a TA threaten to lock me into the chemistry lab because I wasn't finished in time. I had a typing teacher who insisted that I type with the source material propped up on a stand too far away for me to see. The typewriter ribbon was pale gray, so I could neither see what I was supposed to type or whether I typed it. I moved it forward, she moved it back, I moved it forward, she moved it back. So after a couple of iterations of this, I realized she was never going to get that I could not learn in her classroom. So I went to the principal and convinced her to let me drop the class. I told her that I was going to college on scholarship and a failing grade in typing wasn't going to help. She let me drop it. I think at least in part because she didn't want to talk to my mother about it. So procuring better conditions for people with disabilities is so multifaceted that it's hard to say when a movement even began. It is worth noting, though, that after both world wars, veterans coming home from those two wars were very active in accessibility issues, particularly transportation, streets, things like that. But the first major civil rights law for people with disabilities was the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. That law was intended to address vocational training and federal contracts. But there was civil rights wording in there that some believe was never intended to be in, and that the Congress people did not fully read the law before they voted on it. That's never happened since. So the Nixon and Ford administrations did not implement compliance rules and otherwise slow-walked it. There were lawsuits, there were protests, but it became clear to advocates that comprehensive civil rights law was needed. That would become the American with Disabilities Act, the ADA. I'm going to call it the ADA going forward because that's a handful otherwise. The ADA is a federal civil rights rule that prohibits discrimination against persons with disabilities. It protects from discrimination in employment, public service, public accommodation, that means like businesses, transportation, and telecommunications. It also requires reasonable accommodation and accessibility be provided to ensure equal opportunities for people with disabilities in those areas. Now, prior to the ADA, accessible transit, handicap parking systems, accessible restrooms on long-distance trains, if you can imagine that. Curb cuts were rare, and if they were those weird ones that went into the middle of the street instead of to where the crosswalk was. You remember those? Polling places might not be accessible, and absentee ballots were sometimes really hard to get. If you could get to the job interview, you might not be able to get in the building. You might not get the job, even if you were far and away otherwise the most qualified person. You could be fired for any reason, with no legal consequences. Many disabled employees, including myself, worked extra hard to make ourselves invaluable so we wouldn't face that kind of dismissal. There was no obligation or cultural expectation to provide accommodation, not even inexpensive and simple things like a better headset for your phone or a desk away from the noise. Now, while the IDA seems like a good idea, some leaders and business people objected. Ronald Reagan said he wouldn't sign it. The New York Times editorialized that it would cost small businesses too much and completely ignored the cost of keeping so many Americans unable to participate in society and the economy. Some feared it would interfere in at-will employment. Finally, President Bush Sr. gets elected, and he enthusiastically said he would sign it. But time went by with no bill. Can we have the first slide? So, disability activists had had enough. On March 11th, 1990, as part of a larger protest at Capitol Hill, over 60 people got out of their wheelchairs and crawled up the Capitol steps. You can see that in the picture up there. They actually crawled up. There was a lot of press coverage. So they get inside the rotunda, and then they chain themselves together and start chanting ADA, ADA. Well, needless to say, they got arrested. They actually zip-tied them. If you can imagine zip-tying people in a wheelchair. But then they had a problem. You see that elevator in the lower left-hand corner over there? It can accommodate one wheelchair. It took 6 hours to evacuate the Capitol that day. I'm going to point out too, this is not an ADA picture, but in the top picture, the first picture, the sign on that guy's chair says, "I can't even get to the back of the bus." This is from the veteran protest after World War II. So the ADA was finally signed by President Bush in July of 1990. So how are we doing now? Are worth and dignity affirmed? I can tell you that my life has certainly improved. When I went back to college as part of a career change, I found that PSU had services to include people with disabilities, and I was not made to feel like an exception. In work, I got every accommodation I needed, sometimes before I even asked for it. Should have seen my monitor. There are accessible technologies and technology companies that make services that make serious efforts to comply with requirements for accommodation. And I think that actually, for many of us, has been the big change. I have many technical tools to solve problems, including this. Now, positive impacts have happened in public accommodation, transportation, et cetera, but there are still big problems, well, big and small. The reading today about healthcare was based entirely on research done after the turn of the millennium, so all post-ADA research. And many of those physicians were educated post-ADA. Those who cannot work are often on a federal program called SSI, but these people are kept desperately poor. They get under $1,000 a month in payments. If you're married, $1,500 a month, and you cannot have a bank balance of more than $2,000 or $3,000. Yeah. Low wages and ICE detentions have particularly led to a major shortage of home health aides. Anti-DEI programs impact early special education, especially in Eastern Oregon. Employment for people with disabilities actually went down after passage, there are theories, and didn't begin to rise until after the recession of 2008. But you will still sometimes see job postings that have a requirement that you have a driver's license or be able to lift 40 pounds, even though that's not part of the job. It's thought to be a way of discouraging people with disabilities from applying. The city of Portland has been successfully sued several times for serious violations. My personal favorite, they are in the process of fixing 18,000 curb cuts in East Portland. That's 18,000. kind of a side note, they did some of them wrong and they had to go back and redo them. They've also been required by the courts to, in a settlement. They have been required in a settlement to actually do something when a sidewalk is blocked by a homeless camp. Why lawsuits? Well, that's one of the major enforcement mechanisms in the ADA. You have to go through the courts. Could we have the next slide? These are some things I've found on my travels throughout just my regular day. So we'll start with the guy in the middle. He does not have a parking sticker, a handicap parking sticker, and he is actually blocking not one, but 2 parking places for vans that have handicap parking stickers and requirements. The one on the far end is very nice. It's a picnic table that was made to have a slot where you can put in a wheelchair, but it was installed with the open slot facing the curb. I actually called about that and they had fixed it by the next time I went past. So I was like, yay. And that first one, the one right over my head, is actually a pipe sticking out of a non-existent sidewalk in my own neighborhood. Some night I'm gonna go by and paint that thing yellow. And now, could we have a wide-angle shot of this room, please? Our own altar space cannot accommodate anyone who cannot stand. There is a UU minister in Portland, a really good speaker, I hear. Now, some may think we could invite her and build a temporary ramp, but I want to ask you to visualize that. Visualize having a guest speaker here with a temporary ramp. Put yourself in her shoes. Would that affirm dignity? You can go back to me. We don't need to look at that anymore. One of the more interesting impacts of the ADA is how it has increased our binary thinking about disability. Now, I'm not this is like a bigger topic for another time, but I do want to point out that we have begun to think about disability more along the lines of, are you covered or are you not covered? Are you required, am I required to accommodate you, or am I not required to accommodate you? And while that's what the law says, I personally think that kind of thinking can interfere in our actually meeting the requirement to provide worth and dignity, to affirm worth and dignity for all persons with disability, because there isn't a line up there on the top of that says if they meet the ADA requirements. It's for everybody that we wish to affirm the worth and dignity. So what can we do? Well, first I want to ask you to consider educating yourselves. Can we have the slide? The slide with the QR codes. Because I'm me, you know, you get QR codes and links and stuff. You can take a photograph of this now. We're going to put it up again later. This includes an amazing PBS video about the path to get the ADA passed, and it speaks a lot about the Capitol crawl and the after effects of that. It's a great video. These sources are mostly about history. There's a whole lot of other things you can do to educate yourself. Another thing you can do, which actually most people did today, yes, learn to use the microphone correctly and use it every time. We can set up coffee and tea so that folks don't have to walk to the back to return a cup. We can print the music large enough or clear enough. It doesn't have to actually be that large because some of us can just do other things with it. It needs to be clear though. Keep your eyes open in your own neighborhood. Even just reporting a badly placed picnic table can help. And when you see a curb cut, enter an automated door or a step inside of a kneeling bus, remember those who made that happen. And lastly, for those who need something, ask. We want to include you. Thank you.
Please rise as you are willing and able for our final hymn today. The words would be on the screen. Now it's time for the offering. We share half of the money collected each week with a local organization doing good works in our community. Snowcap Community Charities is our Sharing the Bounty partner from September through February. East Rose has a long relationship with Snowcap. We are one of the 25 local churches that founded Snowcap in 1967 to address the needs of East Multnomah County residents. Snowcap helps with food, clothing, personal care items, and needs for infants. We look to deepen our partnership with Snowcap over the next months. If you are attending online, you may donate by visiting our website and clicking the donate button, or you may scan the QR code on the screen. If you are here for the first time, we invite you to let the basket pass you by and truly be our guests. The gifts of the congregation will now be most gratefully received. Please remain seated and sing our song of gratitude. Number 1010 in the teal hymnal, We Give Thanks. The words will be on the screen. We extinguish this flame to remind us, love is the center. As we explore the rest, engage and heal, love remains the center. When all we can see is cold ashes, love remains. Now for announcements. I only have a couple, and then I'm going to invite Cynthia up here. Well, thank you, everybody who took part in today's service. Everybody did great. RE is making applesauce next week to share at the potluck. We are in search, they are in search of apple slicers, the round ones with handles, to borrow. And if you can help, please talk to Tara or Kathy. Thank you. There's something that I recently became involved with, and it's called Death Cafe. And there is a Death Cafe happening today, if anybody has any interest, at the Gregory Heights Library, which is on 7921 Northeast Sandy. Now, this is not a grief support group or therapy of any kind. It is just gathering to share any thoughts about death that you might have. So, anyway, Cynthia.
So, as Carol reminded us, the auction's coming up, and she's got sign-up sheets. The auction is on November 1st, Dia de los Muertos. It's going to be the morning after Halloween, so, okay. We've extended the deadline for signing up to donate a service or an item to next Sunday. So if you haven't already downloaded the form, which you can do on Petals at our article, we have some copies here. You can take them home, fill them out, bring them back next week, mail them in, whatever's convenient for you. I also have copies of the form that you can give to your local merchant. And a couple, let's see, I don't even know if she's here today. Tony is not here today, but Tony has already gotten the pizza place across the street here to donate a coupon for us for the auction. So just, wherever you get your nails done, your hair done, you buy your pizza, the candy shop on Main Street in Gresham, all those places, you'll find they're more than willing to donate services. So I have those forms as well, and you can also download them from our item. This is going to be a really fun event. It's adults only, and there's no alcohol because it is at the Memorial Chapel, and that is a rule for the city of Gresham. So no alcohol may be consumed on the premises. If you want to have a little tipple before you come, that's fine. You'll probably spend more money that way. So I don't discourage that. And then you may need another tipple afterwards out in the parking lot when you realize how much you have spent. But anyway, we look forward to seeing you on the 1st of November. And if you have any questions, I have these forms with me today.
Hello. Right after this, not immediately after, but soon after, at 12:15 for members, we're having a special congregational meeting and a vote. So please join us if you are a member and you wish to vote. And if you don't know anything about this, just come talk to me real quick and I'll let you know why we're doing this. Okay? Thanks. Pizza. And there will be pizza.
Before I read the benediction, I'm just going to remind y'all that after the slides are done and we've closed out the live stream, Ayla will put the QR codes back up on the screen because I know y'all want them, right? This is adapted from Thessalonians. Go out into the world in peace. Have courage. Hold on to what is good. Reject a person evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help the suffering. Honor all beings. This service is ended. Coffee, tea, congregational meeting, QR codes, come join us.